Welcome to this training video covering the correct procedure for inspecting and maintaining the solenoid valve. The solenoid valve controls the flow of water into the system, refilling it after each toilet flush. A solenoid failure will be identified by the system going into fault, indicated by the status light. Two long flashes followed by a pause indicate that the water level sensor has failed to detect water. This can occur when the solenoid valve has failed to open and water has not filled the system. One long flash followed by two short flashes and a pause indicates that the solenoid valve has failed to close. This will cause the toilet to overflow in the system and put the toilet into a fault. To access the solenoid valve, begin by removing the PCB module. Loosen off the two screws indicated by tank open on the PCB module. Lift the PCB module up and hang it off of the front of the system. Isolate the water supply on the flexible hose valve. Release the pressure between the water supply and the solenoid valve by flushing the toilet, or by using the reset procedure if the toilet is still in fault. Remove the copper tube from the push-fit fitting. Isolate the power supply to the PCB module. Disconnect the four connections from the internal module to the PCB module. Loosen off the three screws that fix the internal module in place. One screw is located at the cable tray. Two screws are located at the inlet retaining plate. Remove the inlet retaining plate. Lift out the internal module by gripping the solenoid valve and the water pump. Pull the cables through the cable tray slot. Twist the water pump clockwise to unclip it from the internal module. Remove the two screws that fix the solenoid valve to the internal module. Remove the cable clip to free the cables from each other. With the solenoid valve now free from the internal module, loosen off the three screws that fix the two parts of the solenoid valve together. By hand, separate the two parts of the solenoid valve. Separate the plunger, spring and guide from the valve. Hook under the edge of the diaphragm with a flat screwdriver to remove it from the body of the solenoid valve. These are the components that make up the solenoid valve. The solenoid and the three screws can be put to one side. In a fresh container of water, clean the rest of the components. As you clean each component, visually inspect each part, making sure that there's no debris left behind. The body of the solenoid valve will be the most likely to have the most debris in it, as this is where the water flows through the valve. Carefully inspect the diaphragm. If there is any sign of damage on the diaphragm, replace it with a new one. To reassemble the solenoid valve, place the spring into the guide. Then insert the plunger into the guide with the black plastic section facing out. Then fit the diaphragm into the valve body with the flat white plastic disc facing out. Align the guide with the valve body and push the two components together. Hold the two components together with one finger so that they don't spring apart. Align the solenoid with the valve body with the cable facing 2 o'clock. Fit and tighten the 3 retaining screws. Work your way around in a circular pattern, tightening the screws. This ensures that the solenoid and valve body seat correctly together. Once you have reassembled the solenoid valve, visually inspect the valve and make sure there is no gap between the solenoid and the valve body. Reattach the solenoid valve to the internal module using the 2 fixing screws. Refit the water pump to the internal module by rotating it anti-clockwise, clipping it into place. Feed the 4 cables through the cable tray hole. And clip the solenoid valve's cable into the slot on the internal module. Join all the cables together neatly with the cable clip. Reassemble the internal module into the cistern. Align the water pump outlet with the fitting at the bottom of the cistern. Feed the cables into the cable tray slot. Push down on the internal module to clip it down into the cistern. Align and fit the inlet retaining plate. Fasten the 3 screws fixing the internal module to the cistern. Reconnect the cable connections between the internal module and the PCB module with their corresponding connections. Reconnect the power supply to the PCB module. Reconnect the water supply to the speed fit fitting. Turn the water supply back on at the hose valve. Perform a test flush to ensure that the solenoid valve is operating correctly. The solenoid valve should open, fill the system, then close off completely. Once you have tested and ensured that the unit is working correctly, you can refit the PCB module to the system. Align the cables in the cable tray. Place the PCB module down onto the system. Tighten the retaining screws. If the repair failed to work, replace the entire solenoid valve or the entire internal module of the unit. If the solenoid valve failed because of sediment, ensure that an inline strainer has been fitted on your unit to protect the solenoid valve. For further support, servicing information, or replacement parts, please contact Propel Air via our website or by email.